Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the Kryjer Knowledge Podcast. Lots to discuss on this show today. Obviously, this past weekend with the NBA Finals, last night's Game 5. The Phillies have been hot as of late, and I actually have a movie review for you guys again. The new movie Hustle came out on Netflix with Adam Sandler, a couple of the NBA stars. So we'll get into all that today. But first, I want to give you guys the answers to last week's trivia questions. So the first trivia question that I asked last week was, which pitcher hit 2 home runs and threw a no-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds in 1971? The answer to that question is Rick Wise. So good job if you got that right. Question number 2 I asked was, how many baseballs could Johnny Bench hold in one hand? And the answer to that is 7. And then finally, trivia question number 3 that I asked last week was, name the 4 NFL players who have won consecutive Super Bowls with separate teams and played in those Super Bowls. Now, I know there have been a couple other players who have been on teams, but they haven't played in that Super Bowl. For example, LaShawn McCoy. He won it with the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, but he didn't play in both Super Bowls. But the 4 who have played in consecutive Super Bowls with 2 different teams and have actually played in both games were Chris Long, Deion Sanders, LeGarrette Blount, and Ken Norton. So if you got that answer right, nice job. That was a hard trivia question. But I got 3 more trivia questions for you guys today, but we'll get into that towards the end of the episode. First up, I got to give my post-game thoughts on my Philadelphia Phillies last night. And yes, for those of you guys wondering, I am a Philadelphia Phillies fan. I know they haven't been good in several years, but I keep holding out hope that Bryce Harper can turn the franchise around and help us get a ring, the first one since 2008. But last night, obviously, this team just fired Joe Girardi, and it seems like they have a new energy for the game of baseball, which is exciting to see. It takes a lot to have a blowout loss and then follow it up with a win. They got smoked by the Diamondbacks the other day, but to come out against the Miami Marlins ace, who actually, I think in the last 5 games, he has like an earned run average of like 0.44. So for them to come out and score a couple runs against him was nice to see. Listen, if we just sign Kyle Schwarber to be a beast in the month of June, I'm all for it. Since June has started, Kyle Schwarber has been a phenomenal hitter. 2 hits last night. It's really good to see him get things going, especially at the top of the lineup, because that eases the pressure on Bryce Harper and all the other guys. Speaking of the other guys in the lineup and people who are getting hot, Rhys Hoskins, now's the perfect time for the Philadelphia Phillies to trade him. Rhys Hoskins tends to go on these streaks where he gets real hot. He's real clutch, and I'm happy to see him get a swing going again. But if the Phillies are serious about making the playoffs this year, they need to shore up that bullpen. They need to get their pitching a lot better. And I think that you could flip Rhys Hoskins for a bullpen piece or maybe even a 4th or 5th starter, especially with the way he's been swinging as of late. Also, for me, if you could trade Rhys Hoskins, you can give JT a rest behind home plate. JT Realmuto has not been playing well for this year. His average is sitting around like 240, 250. But JT Realmuto is a much better player than that. He's having some errors behind the plate that we don't usually see. So I know last year they tried giving him some days at first base to get him that rest. And I think it's even needed now more than ever, just so he can step back and take a break from playing so many innings behind the plate. I don't want to see JT Realmuto have a similar career path as to Joe Mauer. Obviously, for those who remember, Joe Mauer, one of the best catchers in the MLB at the time, but then injuries really cost his career, and then he had to switch to first base or to the DH. It'd be nice to have JT DH for us every once in a while, but with Harper's injury, he obviously can't be the DH. So maybe we could flip Hoskins for a bullpen piece and then move JT to first base every once in a while. And then finally, Bryce Harper, I don't care what anybody says, he's the MVP again. I mean, he is just a phenomenal hitter. His average, I think, is at 315 or 317 right now. I think he's got 45, 46 RBIs. I mean, he's on record pace. Last year, his numbers weren't even close to what they are right now. So hopefully Harper obviously can stay healthy enough to hit. And you never know. Maybe he can win the MVP again. That would be absolutely incredible. And I know he's hurt. I know his arm's hurt and he hasn't been able to play the outfield, but the Phillies really have to make a decision. If they're serious about making the postseason, all right, they have to determine, hey, we're going to go in all in at the trade deadline and try to make this a playoff team, or decide, hey, we're not a playoff team. Let's wait till next year. And then I think at that point, if that's what happens, then Harper should rest and potentially get surgery or, whatever the doctors think is best for Harper's arm. But right now, he's the heart of our lineup. He's playing so well. I think he's 3 home runs away from 100 with the Phillies, which if you think about that, he's only been playing for about 3 years. And obviously the shortened season with COVID. So it's been like 3.5 years, but he's already at 100 home runs. And I think Harper, with all these numbers that he's putting up, an MVP, hopefully this year he gets another batting title. He's on pace to be the greatest Philly ever. He's got to get a ring, but I think Bryce Harper is on pace to be the greatest Philly of all time. All right, switching things over. We talked baseball. Now let's talk the NBA Finals. I'm going to give my recap from Game 5. First up, that was a huge win for the Golden State Warriors. I mean, without Steph Curry hitting a three-pointer the entire game, for them to find a way to win, that was big time. And one thing that separated this game was the Warriors role players stepped up and the Boston Celtics players did not. People like Gary Payton II, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, they hit big shots. They made big plays. They got some steals on defense. And that was crucial for the Warriors to get a win, especially when their best player, Steph Curry, was off all night. Wiggins has stepped up since his time with Golden State. I know he got off to a slow start in terms of his career, but with the way he played last night, I don't expect him to drop 25 every single game, but he's really doing a nice job on Tatum on the defensive end. And if he has that offensive explosion again, come Game 6, the Warriors are winning. The Warriors will be winning their 4th title in the last 8 years, for sure. Now, starting off, I did have the Boston Celtics winning in 7. I'm still confident in that pick. Obviously, the Warriors didn't shoot all that well last night, but neither did the Celtics. And the Celtics turned the ball over way too much. Those turnovers have to stop if the Celtics want to win Game 6. I'm happy that they're going back to the Boston Garden. I think they'll shoot much better there. And I don't think they'll turn the ball over as much. But it just goes to show how the experience kicks in these finals. The Warriors with Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry. And then the Celtics with, the young core and Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. I think experience is playing a big role in this series in terms of composure and just being calm with the offense, with the ball when it's in your hands. But I think that the Celtics will step up Game 6 Thursday night, and I have them winning in 7. I think it's going to be tough going back to Golden State and winning a Game 7, but I do believe in them. I know Jason Tatum has not been playing well this series, as I predicted, but hopefully these next 2 games, he really shows why he's a superstar in the league. All right. So I don't know how many of you have checked out the new movie on Netflix, Hustle, with Adam Sandler, but it's pretty good. So I'm going to give my review on it, let you guys know. Maybe that will influence you guys to watch it tonight or whenever you got some free time. If I was to give it a rating out of 10, I would say it's about a 7.5 out of 10. It's definitely better than Adam Sandler's movie, Uncut Gems. This one's, in my opinion, Hustle's way better. And it's a solid basketball movie all around. It starts off a little bit slow, but then there's a point in the movie where it really picks up and you're interested into it and you want to see more and see how the story kind of unfolds. In terms of basketball movies, as of late, I know in 2020, Ben Affleck came out with a movie, The Way Back. And Uncut Gems, I guess, is considered a basketball movie too. The Way Back was better than Hustle. So if you guys are trying to get a comparison with movies in terms of basketball, I like Ben Affleck's movie, The Way Back, more than Adam Sandler's Hustle. But I would still watch Hustle again. It's definitely a solid movie. But but you have to follow along, and don't be discouraged when it starts out slow. The ending is good, and it turns out to be overall a solid movie. All right, I told you guys I had some more trivia questions for you. So here are the next 3 trivia questions. Once again, I'll reveal the answers on next week's episode. But for number 1, what pitcher holds the record for most complete games in MLB history? So throughout their career, what Major League Baseball pitcher holds the record for most complete games in history? One more time in case you guys didn't hear. What pitcher holds the record for most complete games in their MLB career? All right, number 2. What NFL player returned a fumble 66 yards to the wrong end zone? Once again, what NFL player returned a fumble 66 yards to the wrong end zone? And then my third and final trivia question for tonight is, who is the only player in NBA history to win an MVP, a Coach of the Year, and an Executive of the Year award? I messed that up at the end, so I'll repeat that for you guys. Who is the only person in the NBA history to be named MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year? Who is the only person in NBA history to be named MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year? When I saw this question, I thought it was a good one to ask. Try mixing it up with the questions, especially the sports. I don't want to give you guys all baseball or all football. So try going 3 different sports, 3 different questions. And then, yes, like I said, the answers will be revealed next week, or you can follow on TikTok, and I'll be replying to people if they get the answer right. And then, like you guys know, I like to finish off with the quote of the day. Just helps to give a little bit of inspiration, to pick up on what some other people have from their experiences, their stories. Last week, I went with a quote from Matthew McConaughey. This week, I'm sticking with the actors. I'm going with a quote from Denzel Washington that I really appreciate. And here's a quote from Denzel Washington. Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. Denzel Washington gave this quote when he won an award. And when I first heard it, it stuck with me. And, I now follow Denzel Washington often and pick up on more of his quotes and his life experiences. And he's just been, a good role model, a good person to look up to and, learn from. So once again, here's a quote from Denzel Washington. Without commitment, you will never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you will never finish. All right, and that's pretty much it for today's episode of Kryjer Knowledge. Like I said, these episodes are going to be quick, simple, and effective. I'm going to get out a couple points, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode number 2 of Kryjer Knowledge. We're going to start pumping out more of these episodes, of course, and we'll see how Game 6 of the NBA Finals goes. And next week, I might give you guys a book review just to switch it up, or something that I learn about and I want to let you guys know. But yep, that's it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you soon.